Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Before I begin, don't forget to join my Discord server called Luca10's Hangar. I plan on joining weekly, so if anybody wants to fly together, we can make that happen. My Discord server is linked down in the description below. I had a rather interesting thing happen to me yesterday when I logged into War Thunder, and basically it seems I've had some players who don't seem to understand the concept of strategic playing and report me for passive play. I'm not even going to address the claim of team killing because that's just ridiculously untrue and clearly just an enemy making false claims. Just because your enemy has a more favorable position in a dogfight and you extend away does not mean you're an idiot or deserve to be reported for passive play. People have different strategies in War Thunder, and I think a lot of people have a tendency to overlook the fact that there are different ways to play the game successfully. I think we can all agree that a player's ultimate goal during a match is to not die and hopefully get some kills. In my opinion, being reported for passive play is stupid when you're the only player left on your team and significantly outnumbered. It's not realistic to think that a single player who is being strategic will dive down to multiple enemies and give up their advantage. Common sense would tell us that a strategic player is going to need some time to figure out what to do next. That doesn't mean that the enemy should stop and do nothing. However, if the strategic player extends away from the enemy to gain a better position and more time, then that is not passive play that is worthy of being reported. There are many ways people can look at passive play. For example, if I'm in a 1v8 and I'm above the enemies and actively trying to boom and zoom them, it's going to take me some time to get to every single one of them. Plus, I also have to analyze each enemy aircraft as it relates to my aircraft. Just because it takes me a couple minutes doesn't mean that's necessarily passive play, it's strategic play. I'm doing my best to stay above my enemies and trying to boom and zoom and/or trying to figure out what to do next. It seems like people don't think of the bigger picture. Why would I intentionally put myself into a bad situation? I completely understand people being frustrated at the fact that some people legitimately just fly around their airfield for 15 or more minutes just to accomplish nothing. That I don't agree with. But if you're just extending away from a fight, it doesn't mean that you're trying to inconvenience that enemy to the point where they can't live their day-to-day lives because you made the game go on for 2 more minutes. People need to be realistic and put themselves in the enemy's shoes. For example, I'm not going to turn around into 5 enemies who are within a mile or so of me, and above me, and I don't think they would either if they were in my shoes, unless they have a death wish. Again, we are talking about a scenario of multiple enemies being above you and potentially being in the objectively better dogfighters. I also just wanted to point out, if you really want somebody to land and bail out, then fly away from the airfield and stop trying to dive on the other player. Why would you risk getting yourself killed by the airfield anti-aircraft just to complain more? There is no reason to throw out insults because your enemy is in the less favorable position and decides not to take a fight. Now let's get into the video proof. I decided on showing this game because A, thankfully the enemies in this game were not as ridiculous as some of the others who I've encountered, and B, this game shows what I mean by I'm actively trying to kill these enemies. Overall, I'll explain what my thought process was throughout the game, and I'll explain why I don't take certain fights with certain aircraft at that time. Now we're in the game, and I've given my enemies the courtesy of not showing their names. Right now I'm just trying to climb as high as I can. I'm in the Bf-109 G2, and this plane's really going to excel up high. It's got the Daimler-Benz 605, and that engine does very well up high. I'll be going into the sensor view a lot just to show where the enemies are at. It's a lot harder to see them whenever the sensor view is off and you got the sun in your face. Right now I've spotted a Yak 3 right up there. He's 1.6 miles out and he's coming in quick. Now the thing is, I know I can outrun a Yak 3 and I really don't want to fight him up here around all these enemies. And just in general, under these conditions, it's really not very smart to fight a Yak 3. You might have heard some people say that the higher the Yak goes, the worse it gets, and that's not all that false. But that doesn't mean that the Yak's not good up high, it's just not as good. Finally, that Yak 3 pulls off me, and he gives me the ability to climb. I've got multiple enemies climbing in my direction, and right now I'm just trying to get above them as quickly as possible. I've also got my squad mate in the game with me. He's in a 1v4, and that's really not good. 2 Mustangs and 2 Yak 3s are really going to be a huge threat for the G2. I'm trying to come in towards him, but unfortunately he goes down right down there somewhere. Now I'm the only fighter left, and I've got to try to avenge him. I've got an enemy Yak 3 in sight about 1 o'clock low, right over there where that dot is. I'm definitely going to try to go kill him. This is definitely going to be a good time to try to kill him. I'm above him, and I'm just going to try to boom and zoom him. He pulled in towards me. I'm just trying to get a little bit of spacing here, and I'm going to start the dive, but I just need to be careful because I know his friend's right out there somewhere. I can tell that he's definitely very aggressive here, so I need to play this very smart. I'm also having a hard time spotting everybody, so it's going to be a little bit harder for me. I start to pull up here. Looks like I have enough spacing. I've got 2 other enemies right down there, so I need to be mindful of those guys too. Just to get a view of everything, I dump my flaps here. It's a Yak 3 down there and an A-21 trying to climb. I'm going to start the dive on the Yak 3. This will be a perfect time to try to kill him. He starts to turn in. Really not a smart thing to do. I'm going to get my nose around, fire at him, hit him there, but unfortunately don't kill him yet. Best thing for me to do here is just climb back up to altitude. That's exactly what a boom and zoom is. I've also got to be mindful. Remember, that Yak 3, he's still behind me right there. It's going to be pretty hard for me to fight 2 Yaks, but all I got to do here is just keep using my energy to my advantage. If I keep doing this without being bothered by anybody else, this will be fine for me. I'm also looking at the Yak 3 in front of me and off my left. He's starting to turn back around, and if he starts climbing, that's really not going to be good, because then I'm going to have 3 Yak 3s up high. I'm already at 22,700 feet, as you can see up here. These 2 Yaks are getting really close to each other, so if I dive on one of them, the other one's just going to turn back in towards me and try to kill me, so I need to play this very smart. It's looking like it's going to be the highest guy. I'm able to hit him there and take him out. But then, just as I said, his friend's right behind me. I'm just going to use my speed and my maneuverability to my advantage. And if nobody else has seen yet, I've got that A-21 still behind me right there. But all I have to do here is just trade my airspeed for some altitude. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep on climbing and do it all over again. You have to be very careful against these Soviet planes. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier with strategic playing. I'm not just going to fully commit a dogfight against the Yak 3. If you use the Yak 3 correctly, it can be a huge threat to anybody. I've also got that P-51D-10 climbing straight up towards me. He's going to start firing right then and there. I've just got to dodge his tracers and make sure he doesn't get up here. He lost all of his energy trying to come up. I really want to start killing that Yak 3 down there. He's a huge threat. He starts to pull up and towards me. Now I'm going to start to pull back up. There he goes firing. I'm just going to dodge his bullets. He's going to waste a lot of energy trying to come back up here. We're at 24,000 feet, so these are some really high altitudes here where the Yak's not going to do as well as me. So I just have to use that to my advantage. He really doesn't have a lot of energy, but the thing is, that Mustang, he's climbing back up there too. I was able to pull around in time. He's going to start to dive away. I'm going to see if I can get a shot off on him. I'm able to hit him there, but unfortunately it's nothing too critical. But then, of course, my big fear, that Mustang's back up behind me, just what I didn't want to happen. And then also, that A-21's up here. That Mustang's coming in really quick. I'm just trying to climb here, seeing how much altitude I can gain. But it's really not going to be very much, considering this Mustang's right there. And also, that Yak 3 is down there too, so that's just lovely. I've got 4 enemies behind me, and we're at 21,000 feet. I also want to point out, they're all relatively close to each other, so even if I were to turn around and fight one of them, the other's just going to try to kill me. I realize that this is stupid and that there's really no use to fight any of this, so I'm going to dive to the airfield. I'm hoping that the airfield will kill at least one of them, and that then I can climb back up and hopefully try to get above these guys. I also just want to be really careful with this Mustang, because it's no ordinary Mustang, that's a D10. A D10 is very powerful. That Yak 3 is really going fast, I'm just trying to get him to rip his wings too. Now we're at 7,000 feet and we're losing altitude very rapidly. My main goal is just to try to get these guys to dive to the airfield and hopefully die to the anti-aircraft, or rip their wings. Thankfully the artillery starts to fire at that Yak 3, but unfortunately he starts to fly away. Now I've got an even bigger issue. These guys are clearly noticing the airfield artillery, so I need to be very careful here. I know that the rest of them are probably going to be pretty hesitant to follow me down, but not that guy. That guy just died at the airfield, thankfully. My point is, it's going to be very hard for me to get out of here, because I got 3 enemies all above me and all flying around me. I'm just going to point it out again. I have no help. Now here's where the chatting comes in, and like I said earlier, I'm going to give these guys the courtesy of just blurring their names. I'll tell you why people do this. It's because these people above me, there's 3 of them above me right now. Why would I put myself into a bad situation on climbing back up and letting them just boom and zoom me? There's only 4.5 minutes left in the game. There's really no reason to do any of this. If you want me to fight so badly, fly away. Same thing with this guy. There's no reason for me to land if these guys are just going to keep boom and zooming me. I really don't trust my airfield all that much. It also really doesn't help that I've lost sight of every single one of them. This guy saying that they're not even close, I don't even trust him for a second. And I'm glad that I didn't trust him, because there was just a J-21 coming straight in towards me. He's only 2.7 miles out as well. That's really not very far when you come to think of it. We're also losing really bad on tickets. I know that this game's definitely lost. There's only 2 minutes left in the game. I know that there's still a couple people around me, and I really don't want to fight this. It also really doesn't help that I don't see any of them at this time. I know that there were just 3 around me, and I'm not sure where the other 2 are at. If I would have known at least where some of them were, then it might have been a little bit different. It's very hard when you don't see any of them, and you know that they were just around you a few minutes ago. And either way, there's a minute left. There's really no reason to fight these guys. These guys are either above me or at my altitude. I really don't want to fully commit a head-on here. They make it seem like I've been hovering around the airfield for 20 plus minutes. That's really not the reality of things. So all I'm asking is that people put themselves in the enemy's shoes before you report somebody. Thank you everybody for watching. The purpose of this video was not to prove myself right, but to simply talk about other strategic ways of playing in the hopes that players that are quick to report someone will be more mindful before clicking the report button.